Hey guys, welcome back to Follow Me, 11B. Discussions on current events, macroeconomics, and freedom and liberty from a veteran's perspective. Today I wanted to talk the Olympics, and more specifically, now that the Beijing Winter Games have concluded, and in light of NBC's ratings failure this time around with the Olympics, should NBC continue broadcasting them next time around? Will they? Do the Olympics even serve their traditional purpose, or has it become more of a propaganda tool for authoritarian nations like North Korea, China, Russia, etc.? So let's go to an article I came across from the AP by David Bowder and Joe Reedy entitled NBC's Ratings Fall at Winter Olympics Seen as a Disaster for Network. There were many reasons to think NBC made a savvy business deal in 2014 when it locked up the American media rights to the Olympics through 2032 for $7.75 billion. As the Beijing Winter Games comes to a close, it's harder to see them now. These Olympics were a disaster for the network. A buzz-free, hermetically sealed event in an authoritarian country half a day's time zone away. Many American athletes underperformed, and arguably the most successful freestyle skier Eileen Gu competed for China. Viewers stayed away in alarming numbers, and NBC has to wonder whether it was an extraordinarily bad luck or if the brand of a once unifying event for tens of millions of people is now permanently tainted. Network executives say there are no plans to try and adjust or escape from its rights deal. Several experts say that would be unlikely given how live sports are increasing in value and represent one of the few ways advertisers gather large audiences to sell automobiles or beer. NBC Olympics president Gary Zenkel, yes, NBC Olympics president Gary Zenkel, it's a thing, NBC Olympics president, okay, talks optimistically about future games in Paris, Italy, and Los Angeles. Through Tuesday, an average of 12.2 million people watched the Olympics in prime time on NBC, cable, or the Peacock streaming service, down 42% from the 2018 Winter Olympics in South Korea. The average for NBC alone was 10 million, a 47% drop, the Nielsen company said. NBC, this is funny, NBC has not yet said whether the Beijing Games turned a profit or lost money. Let's go back to the statistic for just a second. Through Tuesday, an average of 12.2 million people watched the Olympics in prime time on NBC cable or the Peacock streaming service, down 42% from the 2018 Winter Games. The average of NBC alone was 10 million, down 47%. A 47% drop. I'm going to go ahead and go on a limb here and say NBC did not turn a profit this games. I guess we'll just have to wait for the final numbers to come back, though. One woman on Twitter proclaimed the Olympics were over for me. My lasting impression will be fake snow against a backdrop of 87 nuclear reactors in a country with a despicable human rights record during a pandemic and kids who can look forward to years of therapy. Geez, lady. Next time, tell me how you really feel about it. But it's a pretty good description. I have to say, summarized it well. The person would not be surprised if someone at NBC was looking for ways to improve its deal with the International Olympic Committee, given how badly Beijing went, but thought it highly unlikely the network would try to get out of the deal altogether. NBC knew, even before the pandemic, that Tokyo and Beijing games were likely to be the low point of the rights deal, said John Aurand, media writer at the Sports Business Journal. Things look pretty bleak now, Aurand said. It certainly is a low watermark, but 2 of the next 3 Olympics are going to be blockbusters for NBC. We'll see. Between cord cutting and changed viewing habits due to streaming, the media world is in the midst of a revolutionary change in how entertainment is consumed. Live sports is one of the few dependable ways to get people to turn on their televisions. even though rights fees are rising astronomically and viewership is going down. Few media companies regret these investments, said Neil Pilson, a former CBS sports president who runs a sports consulting company. NBC locked the full media rights for the games in 2028 and 2032 at prices set in 2014. Well, that's probably the only good news for NBC in this whole story is they locked those future games prices at 2014 prices. So a piece of good news for them. Streaming is becoming more important. NBC has so far streamed 3.5 billion minutes from Beijing compared to 2.2 billion in South Korea. So expect more attention paid to Peacock. Although European games might not be best for a primetime television audience, they will be better for people who want to see events on demand, NBC said. The executive said it was possible that more exclusive content will be moved to Peacock, which requires a paid subscription. But they also envision Peacock as a one-stop home for everything about the Olympics. I wouldn't run to say the rights deal is not working for NBC, Pilson said. On the contrary, I think it is, and it will work better for them. Well, we'll have to see about that, but it doesn't change the question, though. Is the Olympics even living up to its traditional purpose anymore? I think right now it probably is not. I think it is largely running as a media event, almost a pay-per-view event that's not pay-per-view, which actually would probably work better, in my opinion, than it does right now. Solve a lot of their problems as far as the money that they are not making. Go to the pay-per-view model. That might be a way to go. They'd probably have to get away from NBC to do that, but that would be one way. But I think it's becoming more of a propaganda tool for some of these authoritarian nations. Can it get back to its traditional mission of bringing countries together and learning more about different cultures, etc., etc.? Yes, I think it can. Is it doing that now? Not especially. Also, will NBC continue to air it? It looks that way. They've got it locked up for the next 10 years or so at least. But I don't see things changing as far for the better in terms of traditional viewing, unless they do go to like a pay-per-view model. That might work a little better for them, or connect that to their streaming. Maybe streaming, obviously that's kind of booming for NBC's model, but maybe just streaming or pay-per-view for specific events, for swimming only pay-per-view, or streaming, pay a certain fee for just being able to stream all the soccer matches or hockey or etc. For the winter, summer, doesn't really matter. But the way it's running right now, it's in big time flux, and NBC's hurting. So they're going to have to change something about what they're doing. Otherwise, they're going to continue to bleed money, in my opinion. But as always, I would love to hear your opinion. So get back to us in the comment section of this video. Don't forget to also follow and like us at Follow Me 11B on Facebook, Twitter, and at The Real Follow Me 11B on Instagram. And we will see you all on the next video.